few animated series like Batman the Animated Series, and it still remains the gold standard today for how superhero cartoons should be done or at least handled properly. But today I'm focusing on a specific episode of the series called Feet of Clay, which is one of the most iconic stories in the series and serves as the origin story for Matt Hagen's Clayface. It's a two-part episode from the original season that kind of mixes that noir detective storytelling with some body horror, with inspirations from The Thing and The Fly. Let's be honest here. And we all know the story of Matt Hagen. If you haven't seen Batman animated series, where have you been for the last 30 plus years? But Matt Hagen was a famous actor whose career was falling apart after an accident that damages his face. And he was so desperate to maintain his looks, he went to someone like Roland Daggett, who had a corporation that helped manipulate his face and to stain the way he naturally looked before, which ended up having unfortunate side effects like turning his face into clay or putty or whatever it was doing to him at the time. And they kind of exposed him to a massive overdose at one point where they kind of forced him to drink the chemical that was supposed to keep his face together. It's actually kind of gross to watch how they do it too. And with the music, it's like, this is kind of disgusting actually. And I mean, Matt Hagen was voiced by the legendary Ron Perlman, and that is always a treat for me. Ron Perlman, at any point in time, I'm just like, yeah, give it to me. I'm in. And when you watch this episode, you kind of think, man, Clayface for a long time was just the guy at first who had a mask. Then they actually gave him a backstory with Matt Hagen, and then there's like three other versions of Clayface. But animated series really nailed it with this one. Like they really took Clayface and instead of making him just your regular villain who could change and stuff, they actually gave him a character. They gave him something to work with, and I'm pretty sure the Matt Hagen backstory was always the case with Matt Hagen's Clayface because the original Clayface I believe is Basil Carlo, and Fate of Clay is one of the greatest episodes because it just goes so much deeper than like your standard superhero fight. It's like tragic more so than like just him being pure villain. Like it's kind of tragic, and you actually feel bad for Clayface, but they do it in a way where he still should be brought to justice. And let's be honest, that animation at the end when he's transforming into all his different versions, that is probably some of the best animation in the series. Like, if not the best, like that was some groundbreaking animation at the time. Like that was, and I believe Andre Romano mentioned they like went to Japan for animation for Clayface because they really wanted it to look good, and they nailed that part. And like this episode really did a good job of exploring like themes of identity, addiction, and like losing yourself, which he is very clearly losing himself to the cream. It's just like there's all these little elements in this one episode, this one two-parter episode that did more for characters like Clayface than an entire 2 hour movie did for like say Malekith the Accursed and Thor the Dark World or something like that. Like this like two-part episode of a supposed to be a kid show, even though it's really for adults, did such an incredible job of just exploring it. And like the elements that made the episode so memorable was like how Hagen would transform into different people mid conversation, that breakdown when he realizes he's not a human anymore, the massive shape shifting battle, as I mentioned with Batman, that dark tone that made BTS feel so alive and real. It was just one of those things where you just have to look back on Feet of Clay and just be like, yeah, this was really one of the first really good episodes of BTAS for so many reasons. And then the end, bro, the end is so good. The end where it's like, actually, maybe that wasn't Hagen. Maybe that what they took was a shell. And then the reveal is that he was that woman at the end with the evil laugh. That is one of the coolest endings to an episode of Batman animated series to me to this day. And it's so ironic that I'm doing Feet of Clay because obviously, Clayface is coming out later on this year, and it's based heavily upon this episode. This two-part episode inspired this body horror film that we're getting from the DCU down the line in 2026. 30 plus years later, I gotta be honest. I had to watch the episode again just to kind of get ready for Clayface because I was like, this is the inspiration, I would watch the inspiration. And I've seen the show at least 2 or 3 times at this point. And yeah, Feet of Clay is one of my favorite episodes of the series. Like, let's keep it a buck. It's only fair that I got to watch one of my favorite episodes of the series to get ready for a movie down the line. But yeah, Feet of Clay is absolutely incredible. I would absolutely tell people who are watching this video to go back and rewatch the episode and give your honest opinion down below. If you remember Feet of Clay phenomenally, which I think a lot of people do, also comment down below. But I would love some engagement because I think it's time for us to start getting ready for Clayface, even though Supergirl's around the corner, and I'm going to do something else on Supergirl at some point. Be on the lookout for that video. And, I don't think I need to do like a 10-minute discussion on like a 2 episode thing. I mean, I could, but why when everything about this episode just does everything for me? Kevin Conroy is great. Like I said earlier, Ron Perlman is incredible as he always is. Oh yeah, Brock Peters was Lucius Fox, and he's good. So, it's just a legendary cast of people in this show. And with that being said, I will close out on that. Let me know how you guys feel down below. Like, comment, subscribe for more. I'll see y'all on the next one.